How is the real estate market right now? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Don't buy a home in Western Upstate South Carolina until you watch this video. Hey, this is Les with the Les Walden Real Estate Team, and one of the questions I get asked most often is, how is the real estate market right now? Or what's going on in the real estate market right now? And so I just thought I'd answer that for you. So Western Upstate South Carolina is in a seller's market. So what does that really mean? Well, a seller's market just means that the sellers are able to stay closer to their asking price. There's not as much negotiation on the price or the terms. So they might not be interested in your offer if maybe you've got another property to sell or something like that. So Western Upstate South Carolina have been in a seller's market for quite some time. So let's examine why Upstate South Carolina or Western Upstate South Carolina is in a seller's market. So the first thing is supply. Supply of homes for you to buy are low. So right now we're at 4.4 months supply, and as compared to last year at this time, we were at 3.8. So yes, it's gone up a little bit, but the National Association of Realtors tells us that a balanced market is somewhere right around 6 months of supply. So you can see we're well below that, and we don't anticipate a lot of homes coming to the market to change that number dramatically. So the first thing is the amount of supply. We don't have quite enough supply for the amount of buyer demand or buyers wanting to purchase the home. So because of that supply, another thing that's happened is home values are continuing to rise. So last year in 2024, home values in Western Upstate South Carolina went up by 6.9%. That's a pretty good increase. You know, before the pandemic, we looked at somewhere in that 4 to 5 range per year. Of course, during the pandemic years, that number went up dramatically. We were seeing incredible increases. But because of the low supply and high demand, prices are continuing to go up. So let's talk about things that impact a seller's market and what makes it a seller's market. So first, want to look at the big picture. Let's look at the numbers for South Carolina, not just Western Upstate, but all of South Carolina. So the month supply of homes is at 4.4 months. So from a supply standpoint, we have more buyers wanting to buy than sellers wanting to sell. So when you have more demand than you have supply, that indicates a seller's market. The next thing for the entire state of South Carolina is values. Values have continued to rise at 6.9% year over year. So we've gone up 6.9% in the value of a home over the last 12 months. So again, because we have more demand than we have supply, that's continuing to drive prices up, indicating a seller's market. Another thing we look at to determine whether it's a seller's market is list price to sales price ratio, or how much is a seller willing to negotiate. And for the entire state of South Carolina, that was at 97.9%. So we're talking about 2% negotiation and then not giving really much on terms. So again, all of this plays into what we call a seller's market. And then the last thing that really plays into telling you whether it's a buyer's or seller's market is days on the market. And so days on the market is the measure of time it takes on average from a property to go on the market to the day it's closed. And for the entire state of South Carolina, that was 73 days. That's not a long period of time if you consider you've got a little bit of marketing time, then somebody agrees to buy the home, so you're under contract, and then from under contract, you go up to the closing table. If that whole period of time only takes 73 days, you're probably under contract in the first 30 days. So keep in mind, that means properties are still moving pretty quickly across the entire state of South Carolina. Another thing to consider, and I saw this stat just the other day, and I think it was done by U-Haul, of course, the people that move everybody around. And they said the #1 most moved to state in the entire United States this past year was South Carolina. Of course, we all know that if we already live here, but that just means people love what we do. They love what we have. They love our weather. They love our lakes. They love our oceans. They love our mountains. They love everything about South Carolina So they're moving here from all over the country. But yeah, U-Haul says that they sent more U-Haul trucks to South Carolina than any other state in the entire country. So now let's get hyper-local. Hyper-local meaning, let's talk about Western Upstate South Carolina, not the entire state, but just our backyard. So the first thing I want to tell you about Western Upstate South Carolina is our median sales price. So our median price means if you take all the prices of homes that sold and you put them in top to bottom and you find the one that's right in the middle, it was $305,000. That is slightly lower than the entire state average, which was around $380,000. And I think we can probably contribute to that higher number for the whole state to our friends down at the coast. So Western Upstate South Carolina, comparatively speaking, is still a pretty good deal with a median sales price of $305,000. Month supply right here in our own backyard is even tighter than the entire state. It's 3.1 months. Now remember before when we talked about the state numbers and what the National Association of Realtors tells us, that right around that 6-month mark is what we call a balanced market. And so Western Upstate South Carolina is at 3.1 months, so roughly half of that. So the market is extremely tight in our own backyard. The next thing we discussed about the whole state was list price to sales price ratio. And again, Western Upstate South Carolina is just a little bit better than the state average. We're a little over 98%. So as you can see, because the market's tight, because we have more buyers than we do sellers, there's just not a lot of negotiating going on. If you find the home you like, chances are you're going to have to pay pretty much what that seller is asking for it, assuming the seller's not out there playing games and throwing crazy numbers around. But again, there's just not a lot of negotiation going on in Western Upstate South Carolina. And the final thing we talked about that makes it a seller's market is days on the market. And for Western Upstate South Carolina in the last year, it was 55 days. That is so fast. Think about it again. You come on the market, you get a contract, and then you've got to go through the pending phase. So from list to close was 55 days. So again, when the good homes come on the market that are priced at market value, they're selling very quickly. So again, with all of these factors playing into what the market is, Western Upstate South Carolina, our own backyard, is a seller's market right now. Doesn't mean if you're a buyer you can't go find your dream home. It just means that you have to understand the market and that the sellers are not doing a lot of negotiation. I would also tell you, if you're a buyer, waiting on an interest rate to go down might be a mistake. And the reason I say that is if values are going up as fast as they are across the state of South Carolina, waiting on that interest rate to drop means the prices are going up. So it's a trade. Maybe the thing to do or to consider would be to find the right home, go ahead and go under contract, and if rates do drop in the future, you can always refinance into that lower rate, but you've already got your dream home. If you're thinking about selling your home or buying a home here in Western Upstate South Carolina, give us a call here at the Les Walden Real Estate team. We would love to sit down with you, ask you the right questions, and help you determine if now is the right time to sell a home or to buy a home right here in Western Upstate South Carolina.